Kush Bora, founder of kushbora.com. On the technicals, Parag Thakkar, head fund manager, Fort Capital. On the fundamentals, with us in the studio, as is the case every day. Gentlemen, both of you, thanks so much for taking the time out. And Kush, कुछ तो होगा आपके opening statement में, लेकिन my question is this first: Are we close to a space from where, if not market-wide, individual pockets could actually see an uptick? Because for now, it seems it's a market that is firmly a sell on rise.
I wouldn't really call it a sell on rise, Neeraj, and I'll give you reasons for that. While the belief on the street is that, and to answer your question very pointedly, yes, there are definitely pockets which are starting to get interesting. But like you said, kuch to hoga mere opening statement mein. So, how's the Josh?
Don't expect a high answer. No.
Let me share a conversation that I had with a very well-known actor from a famous, longest-running television show, something about an Ulta Chashma, right? And this is the conversation we had. The first line and the first question he asks me, "सब कुछ बेच दूँ क्या? सारा शेयर बेच दूँ?" My two questions. First, पैसे चाहिए क्या अभी? नहीं चाहिए. बेच के क्या करोगे? वो तो नहीं पता. ठीक है? So बेचना क्यों है? हर दिन देखता हूँ, हर दिन पोर्टफोलियो रेट दिखता है. So प्रॉब्लम पोर्टफोलियो रेट दिख रहा है वो है ना. तो सोल्यूशन ये है कि पोर्टफोलियो देखना थोड़े दिन बंद कर दो. NDTV Profit देखो, मार्केट में क्या हो रहा है उसकी जानकारी रखो, ठीक है? But if the problem is the pain that you're seeing because of the volatility, right? The idea is to address that and not address the investments, right, directly. Now, while the wicks may not suggest that, but if you see over the last few years, the volatility on the markets have been very high. And forget years, let's just go back September, right? From September onwards, there has been at least 1 week or a series of weeks where the Nifty has fallen 1 to 2% or maybe even more. But in the subsequent weeks, Nifty's gone up, conquered those levels and made fresher highs. My point is that the volatility in the market is just too high and it always feels like this is the end of the world. In most cases, it hasn't. So far, it hasn't been that case, right? There's a very real case from a very near-term perspective that markets could rebound from here. What would I play for? I would actually play for that rebound. I won't be preemptive. Khulte pe nahi lunga. Let the price action show that PCI is at 0.6. Oversold territory 0.7 होती है. Hourly charts पे हम बहुत ज़्यादा oversold territories में चले गए हैं. Whether that turns into a reversal trend and we go back to 26,300, there is a slight possibility, but right now I wouldn't bet on it. But I would definitely play for a rebound on the Nifty, more so on the bank Nifty. But like I've been saying the whole of last week, don't take a preemptive trade. Let the price action suggest that and then go out and take that rebound trade.
I think that's the point. PCR at 0.62, long shot at 892. I mean, you usually have the set stage for a rebound to come in, but maybe don't try and do a leverage preempting. Wait, but you might get some chances today in PVC players, in solar cell manufacturers, all of that. So keep that in mind. And just before we get to that argument of those companies, which would be amongst the big movers, Kush, should we ask you for your stock recommendations considering your stance on the market?
Absolutely, and given the stance, I still remain constructive and my stock picks will also suggest that. Being Monday, this is the weekly pick. Incidentally, I've gone for both the picks that are from the sectors which have done well in the last week. One is Pharma. So Emcure Pharma, by the way, there was a very real tussle on my studies between IPCA and Emcure Pharma. I've gone with Emcure Pharma because of the kind of mild pullback that it's had and then it's way up. So weekly setup is very strong, volume action also very healthy, but it's also corrected and shown that resilience on Friday. So from a positional standpoint, 1615, 1695 are your targets, 1465 is where you keep that stop loss. And then defense has to make that cut, right? At least it's the theme of the week right now, perhaps the theme of the month. So I've picked the biggest of the big, which is, BEL. Here also you've got good momentum, good price action, and of course, there is the tailwind of the budget that could also, help the stock stay afloat. So 434.44, these are your targets. 405 is where you keep that stop loss.
Okay, so, those are the topics coming in from Kush. Let's get in Parag Bhai as well. Parag Bhai, we were just talking about China, which is scrapping their export tax rebates as well for photovoltaic and battery products. Now, this will somewhere be positive for some of the companies across sectors. What would you want to add and where do you see benefits coming in?
So basically, I don't have any stocks in this sector, but I would like to believe that based on whatever sell-side notes I have read, I think Premier Energy, which has fallen a lot, I think it is completely oversold in my view. And plus they are getting orders. And the main concern of the market is that what margin? Everybody has modeled in 2-3% margin dip. But I think the new orders which they have got is at an old margin only. So I would like to believe that if there is something positive which happens on the on this side, I think this is a stock to watch out for. I don't have it in the portfolio, just to put it as a disclaimer, but just from knowledge perspective.
Okay. Interesting. And Somit, then you pointed out that even PVC players will benefit.
Because there are 249 products. A lot of, in fact, UPL, Astral, Supreme Industries, these companies are in fact beaten down as well, given the fact that we had seen a sharp up.
So therefore, we have Supreme and Astral, we have discussed, we have it in our portfolio also, and we like them. Because we also feel that we should be gradually forming a bottom in PVC prices. And already demand situation on the ground has started to improve. That is what Astral has also told, right? Like last 15-20 days, the demand has been good. So I think that that particular space, plus we have seen promoter buying also in a very good company like Supreme Industries. Right. So I would say that just combining all dots, that particular space has already formed a bottom in my view. Of course, market where everything is volatile right now and anything can make another bottom also. But I am saying that it's in a good zone, I would say.
Right. You know, Kush, I wonder if you look at the long-term charts of a Paytm, is it showing glimpses of some strong bottom formation, etc.? Simply because if the guidance that they have always given turns out to be true, then we are entering into a phase wherein Paytm could actually show strong EBITDA and could guide to substantially stronger EBITDA growth in the next 2 years. Do the charts show that?
They do, and let's not forget that there was a point in time, even if it was 5 years ago, that Paytm used to trade close to 2000 odd levels, 1950 odd. There's a steady catch up, if I can call it that, because of the years that have gone by. Right now, what the charts are suggesting, very interesting. 1350, that's the level that the stock has held on to for the last 2.5 months. Right now, very close to the 20 weekly average, which is close to the 1250 mark. But if that is held and there is any kind of an uptick and a closure above 1350, I think this medium-term, long-term trend that started, early 2025, March of 2025, could well continue. And what we've seen in the last 2 months could well be a pause within this bigger rally. So I remain very constructive on Paytm, have been for a while now. And as long as this 1250, 1225, let me just extend that because of market volatility, if that zone is held, this could well be a buying opportunity. 1350 on the upside is the level to watch for.
Okay. Parag bhai, Paytm. I know you don't like these businesses per se, but EBITDA growth coming in.
Yeah. So it can but it is, as I said, it is out of my syllabus.
Okay. So let's leave that.
I like the Avenue Supermart's.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah. Avenue Supermart basic, and that also I don't have in the portfolio, by the way, but I like the results. The fact that revenue growth was 13%, but EBITDA growth was 18%, and PAT growth was around 18%. That means on product mix side and on the cost side, cost of retailing side, both sides they have done much better than expected. So I would say that, see, the competitors are flushed with cash, and so so there's an intense competition. So there is a limited probability for it to get big time re-rated, but at least in the middle of this intense competition, this company has done well. Even Phoenix consumption data was good. Consumption was up 20%. So these are at least some good green shoots which we are seeing in the middle of all this negative news around geopolitical tensions.
Well, the fact remains that Avenue Supermarts as a stock, and if our producers can get the 5-year chart going for that one, it hasn't rewarded investors at all over the last so many years. I don't know if one quarter can change that, but if this is a sign of a turn in those numbers for Avenue Supermarts, if 2026 brings that for Avenue Supermarts, we will finally see the stock move, because it's consolidated for last 4 years now.
And one reason why the margins are actually up is lower discounting. So will that have a positive impact on stocks like Eternal or Swiggy is also something that we need to, should one actually think like that?
In my view, see, these are the companies which have a lot of cash.
Right.
So unless they are forced to show profits by the investors who have given them cash, then otherwise they'll just keep burning cash and they'll just try to show you that how many customers we have added. So there is not an end game, right? And that makes life difficult for even players like Avenue Supermart, who actually want to make cash, who actually want to make reward the shareholders by making profits.
Okay. Some of the other results that came out, and just before we get into the next set of guests as well, Parag bhai, Global Spirits, did you get a chance to look at those numbers?
Numbers were superb, I think. I saw the numbers, but I have not gone to depths that why the numbers were so good.
Okay. Well, strong margins in the consumer business as well. Ethanol margins improved significantly due to the decline in maize prices for global spirits. And I wonder if this lower maize prices impact is seen on some of the other companies, Triveni, Dalmia Bharat Sugar, etc., because all of them will stand to benefit as a result of this. So certainly a pocket you want to keep a very, very keen eye out for. So that's one set of names. The other is, sorry,
Lemon Tree Hotels is what we need to add.
Let's try and figure that out,
I think,
yes.
because I mean, you're talking about a 41% stake purchase by Warburg Pincus. I mean, this is a deal which is, I mean, not a very big company, if you would go to say, but a strong deal where you're going to see one of the arms that will be listing as well. Parag, by any view when it comes to Lemon Tree?
So this deal is good because it makes a Lemon Tree Hotel, the parent, the listed company, a asset-light, high ROC, high EBITDA margin business, and the asset-heavy part of it goes into that Fleur Hotels where Warburg is taking stake. So I think it's a good win-win for shareholders. But let's see, right now, you know, the anticipation is that the results are not going to be that great for hotel industry. That's why Indian Hotel has also gone down from 750.40 to 695. So let's see. But I think the intent of management is right.
I just want to take the commentary back to what Somit highlighted, because when I spoke about the solar prices and the benefits there, and we spoke about Astral because of the PVC prices as well, the agrochem space also stands to be a beneficiary out here. And both Parag, Thakkar and Kush, I wonder if stocks like UPL are primed for a good move. Now, why I want to start with Kush is because I was quite taken aback last week when I thought of agrochemical stocks underperforming, but UPL in effect has actually done really well in the recent past, right? So do the charts have an encouraging up move scenario? Because fundamentally, the news is slightly positive, Kush.
The move on UPL is actually very surprising, given that, you know, how the stock has a tendency of going up, facing resistance, and then just crashing down. This time, it's been a sustained up move. Pick your time frame, you know, even if it's mid 2024 or early 2024 or even you know, early 2025. The stock's been in a consistent uptrend. You know, it's not had a big spike, but that consistent uptrend still very healthy. No signs of abating, because even now you see the volumes on the higher side, the delivery markings are still fairly healthy. Everything to suggest that this trend could continue. In fact, the dips could be taken as a you know, opportunity to go long. 745, 750, good support zone. So if you have a position, keep your stop losses at that. Even if you want to enter a fresh, you could keep your stop losses at that. The kind of move that you are seeing, good possibility of new swinger highs being made. You know, the previous one being around the 8.5, 8.10 zone. So there's a good possibility that the stock could head to those levels, perhaps even 8.35 levels. So good structural uptrend. Declines should be taken as an opportunity to go long on UPL.
There are few companies like Gujarat Fluorochemical, Neogen Chemical and Himadri Specialty. Anything that looks interesting, because these companies also stand to benefit because of this cancellation.
Why so?
Because they also have those products which are under the VAT tax rebates which have been cancelled by China. The 249 product list that I was mentioning. All these companies also are present in that. Specifically lithium salt electrolytes is something that brokerages have highlighted here.
Parag, have you had a chance to look at this?
No, I have not looked at it. But I think this entire withdrawal of export rebates, that entire theme starting is a very positive sign for some of these companies, because whether it is PVC, whether it is solar cells, or whether it is this kind of chemicals, the major problem was Chinese dumping.
Yeah.
So now if that is going to get addressed, I think we should deep dive into it, but it is a good starting point.
Kush, I would want to discuss Manappuram Finance with you. Friday, we had seen a sharp downtick on the back of the report which suggested that the acquisition by Bain could be delayed because of some issues with RBI. But today the stock is, at least on the pre-open side, it's showing a uptick of around 2% odd. How is Manappuram looking on charts? Because there is also this open offer thing which will give a downside support to the counter.
Yeah, so for me, these big gashes like I've maintained in Reliance and you know, HDFC and ITCs of the world, all of last week practically applies to something like a Manappuram as well. When you get these deep gashes, it's an opportunity to start accumulating. Manappuram definitely falls in that category. If you look at the late October move, it's still in that upward sloping channel. Incidentally, the low for last week is precisely at the lower band, 278, 275 levels. I would actually start accumulating Manappuram from a positional standpoint at these levels. And you know, on the way up, you're looking at 305 and 325 as very reasonable, very conservative positional targets on Manappuram.
Kush, with the way markets have opened right now in terms of individual stocks as well, any trade that you're identifying right now?
I'll stick to the two names that we discussed. One was Emcure Pharma. It opened higher and now it's just consolidating a bit and then again starting to revive. So plenty of action there in the first 3-4 minutes itself. But the other interesting move is actually on BEL. We saw it open as the biggest loser on the index just when the markets opened. But the kind of recovery that's that's come in on something like a BEL, very encouraging. So I remain constructive. Also, let's not forget the moves on Hind Zinc and Hind Copper. I think these names could well come back into the foray and long trades could be warranted. So BEL, Emcure Pharma and Hind Copper, some of the names that still make the cut on the long side.
And what about the insurance companies, Parag bhai? A good number that has come in for the month of December?
I think SBI Life reported a very good number. So basically, yeah, insurance companies look decent at these prices, in my view.
And stocks like BHL and Hitachi continue to fall. Today also, BHL is down nearly 5%, Hitachi is down nearly 3-odd%. It's largely because of the China news that had come in.
Yeah, so we don't have this in the portfolio, but definitely would like to, we'll keep BHEL on my radar after such a sharp fall.
But if indeed global competition is coming, does BHEL merit a look at the current valuations? Because even if you look at FY27, it's not particularly cheap. BHEL was a FY28 story, right, Parag bhai?
Basically, all these companies are order inflow stories, right? So once you see the order inflow, the earnings will follow after that.
Right.
So order inflow for thermal power right now is building up. But let's see. But in my view, the intent of government should be that if at all Chinese manufacturers are encouraged, they have to set up plant over here.
Yeah,
that will be the intent in my view.
Agreed.
You cannot have them importing.
But let's assume that is the case. In which case, does BHEL, my question is still this, that if China is setting up plant here and manufacturing, does BHEL...
But I don't think so that what BHEL does by procuring out of so many MSMEs and SMEs and then, so I would say that it is very difficult to set up a ecosystem like BHEL.
Okay, fine.
So
But still I don't have it in the
timelines
portfolio.
for them to come in, set up also is going to be something that we
Still
should
I
be-
don't have it in the portfolio. I'm just saying that it is in my radar.
Okay, on your radar.
Because it is falling and I would say that thermal power order will increase.
I think
That
charts
is
will tell a
Yes.
different story, right, Kush?
For BHEL, most certainly, but I think something that's becoming interesting on charts at least is L&T. This stocks also had 3 days of fall. Today also it's seeing those cuts. I think from here on around the 3900, 3950 mark, good medium-term support zones, so becomes attractive. Of course, not a V-shaped kind of a recovery on this one expected, but there could be a possibility of you accumulating and nibbling into something like an L&T at these levels. The other names, Hitachi and BHEL, the ferocity of the move still a little high, so I'd be a little cautious.
Okay, cautious on that one. Two stocks I want to discuss, Parag bhai, with you. Shriram Finance. Sorry, not a Shriram Finance, actually ICICI Bank. Couple of days, you're seeing that negativity coming in. Today as well, that stock is lower. And the second set is IT, we'll come to that. But how are you looking at ICICI Bank just ahead of the numbers that will trickle in over the next couple of days?
So I would like to say that ICICI Bank right now is trading at a good valuation, 2.5 times price to book for a 2.3, 2.4% ROA business. PE multiple is also below 15x for above 15% growth from next year after the interest rate cut cycle ends. So I would, and Mrs. Bakshi and his team has executed it so beautifully that quarter after quarter you have seen consistency in terms of the delivery, right? Whether it comes to growth, whether it comes to NIM, which is 4.2%, whether it is ROA 2.3, 2.4%. I would just like to, from here on a media platform, request Mr. Bakshi to stay on and to keep creating value for our shareholders like us. At large. So of course, he and his entire team has executed, and I would fully congratulate him and back him up. He continues. See, in spite of all the odds, in spite of all the rate cuts, in spite of some in-between sluggish economy, this bank has delivered absolutely fantastic results every time.
Okay.
Okay,
In fact,
Sandeep Bakshi, if you are listening to this,
I'm sure he's
it's a plea from Parag.
This is a request from the shareholders.
okay. Now to this, you have a Kotak Mahindra Bank as well. Let's just pull up that one because the board has cleared appointment of Anup Kumar Sahu who's as an additional director and whole-time director. And this is going to be a period of 3 years. Now you're talking about ex-Bajaj Finance guy who will be coming in terms of Kotak Mahindra Bank as well. Parag bhai, any view on this one?
No, so Kotak Bank definitely is a good buy, and I would say the results should also show that NIMs will now, because in Q1 they showed a significant decline in NIM. So now I think NIM decline should be arrested for them. Growth should also pick up. The only thing is that this IDBI thing, whether they will acquire or not, whether Fairfax acquires or Kotak Bank acquires or somebody else acquires, that is something which I would like to watch out for.
One stock that I would want to highlight is Divi's Lab. That stock is down nearly 3%. The December export data had come in. For the month of December, the exports are showing a growth of nearly 29% on a YOY basis and 55% on a month-on-month basis. But for the entire quarter, Q3, if you look at the number that has come in, that's showing a decline of nearly 11% on Q-on-Q basis. And that could be one of the reasons why the counter is down nearly 3% in trade. Kush, how's Divi's Lab looking on charts?
Breakout attempt failed. Last week, that's exactly what happened. 67.25, that was the threshold from where, a rounding bottom formation breakout could have come about, be it what the market did, be it what's happening with the stock independently. But that breakout attempt has fizzled, and then you're seeing an impact of that. However, as a saving grace, I would say there's a support at the 62.75, 6300 zone, which also happens to be the 200-day moving average support. So maybe around those levels, the stock could halt. But, is there a case for going out and buying? Not now.
Okay, no buying scenario coming in for a DB Slabs. Kush, a quick one. Any trade with regards to TCSL, HCL Tech on the back of earnings? I mean, you have earnings post-market hours, but anything that you see on the charts?
Okay, so as a matter of principle, I don't generally suggest a trade on the day of the result because it's a binary event, big event. I've mentioned this a few times. I want to reiterate that. Now, keeping that personal view aside, just on the basis of the moves, TCS consolidating, negative bias, not so great setup, I would avoid that. HCL Tech looks interesting. If you look at the kind of moves that it's made in the last 5 to 6 sessions, there has been, an uptick against the market trend. So if I were to pick between the two, I would say HCL Tech is a better placed technically. But, with the kind of moves that you could expect because of the result, I would keep a very strict stop loss at the 1630 level.
1630 is the stop loss for HCL Tech. But thank you, Kush, for going out of your way as well, in terms of both these counters. Thank you, Parag bhai, as well, for coming in. These are going to be interesting days to talk about earnings as well.